what Trump is going through with the FBI and stuff, they're trying to get rid of him. And the FBI knew this guy down there in Florida, knew something was wrong with him. So there's something wrong with the FBI. So I can't figure it out, and I don't think y'all can figure it out, but my failure, I think, I notified the people that I could. I'm trying to get a pardon and stuff. I won't be able to be armed, but like I said, I want my deputies to be armed with everything that they can carry, the best technology. And what I plan on doing in the office, if it's $100,000, all I want is $10,000. That $90,000, we can go back and reinvest it in the community and stuff, and hire some more, even more deputies and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Jerome?
Okay. One of my greatest accomplishments would be after about 3 years when I went to work for probation and parole, I was promoted to a specialist, where I supervised, like I said earlier, violent offenders and sex offenders. That was a big deal, and to me, it was kind of a world that I wasn't ever exposed to, and that was, a big accomplishment for me. The second thing was when I was with the Marshal Service. It's not a singular event, but we were responsible for removing hundreds of dangerous felons off the street. We did this for 8 solid years, and while I was on the team, Glenn Belgard, who was the deputy marshal there, got the Marshal of the Year for the United States, which is a huge accomplishment for the work that we were doing here. The failures, that's a kind of a different and a hard one for me. I think one of the failures would be on a personal level, because when I was doing that, my children were young, and I was working 70, 80 hours a week, and I missed a lot of ball games, and I missed a lot of time that I probably should have been home with those kids, but I was out there working. So, if you have to list a failure, that would be my failure.
Okay. Darrell, we'll start next question with you. Do you think the current total salary and benefit package for the marshal is appropriate? If not, what are your plans?
The benefit package with the marshal's office is a very interesting topic. It's set by the legislature, which is RS 135807, and that's how they get their fees, the commissions. It is a high base salary, but it is set by, the legislature. So, with that being said, it's going to take going to the legislature to adjust it and working with the other marshals around the state to adjust any of the salaries.
Okay. Cornelius?
Well, like I said, what I would do with the salary is give it back to the people. All I want is $10,000. If the good Lord said he wants 10% or something, then I'm just like the good Lord. I can do with $10,000 fine. That $90,000 or whatever those fees and all like that. When my godfather was city marshal, he said that's ridiculous. That marshal makes too much money. And I can't say about everybody, but most of these guys want the money. I don't want the money. I've spent my life trying to do right and stuff, and like I said, if the good Lord only wants 10%, then that's what I figure I could make it on. Everything's paid for and stuff like that. So the $90,000 I'd reinvest in more marshals, more equipment, try to help the community out. You see, we get these poor kids, man, they're threatening the principals at Ash and Pineville, or Bolton, not Pineville. And we need to put a stop to it. We need to restore God back in this country and back in our schools and stuff. So like I said, I just take 10% of whatever it is. If it's $100,000, if it's $200,000, I just take 10%.
Jerome?
Well, it is what it is. The salary, none of these guys up here determine the salary. This is, it's set, we don't have any control over that. If the salary was $10,000 a year, Cornelius would be the only guy sitting there in front of you right now, I guarantee you, because it's a lot of work and it's worth a lot of money for you order to do that. So I'm pretty sure if it paid $10,000, we wouldn't be wasting our time up here for it. But it is what it is. It pays a lot of money. Part of that is because of some of the work that you generate. It's not really a commission, it's a fee for the things that you are serving. So your salary is probably around $60,000, $70,000, your base salary, and then the other things are fees and things that are generated work that you do. But, I think the salary is, it is what it is.
Okay. John?
The salary is definitely something that has to be addressed. It came up in the last Marshals race, but it was not addressed. It's not gonna be an easy thing to address, as Darrell said. The legislature has to do it, and I've done a little research with regard to how best to do it. I really don't have an answer. I do know this, that it won't be something that will be done overnight. If the next marshal determines that that is something that he's going to address, he needs to start on it right away, because it's not gonna be an easy thing to fix. In my opinion, it should be a legislation which ties the marshal's salary to a percentage of what the city judge makes, where it falls somewhere between what the city judge makes and what the clerk of court for the city makes, and be commensurate with whatever duties the marshal performs. What that percentage would be, I can't sit here tonight and tell you what it is. The audit for the city marshal's office for last year is due to come out within the next 3 to 4 weeks. We don't even know what the marshal made last year, or what kind of funds were generated. So it could be much more than what the $240,000 that it was the previous year. I don't know. Nobody knows at this point. I do know this, that the Alexandria City Marshal was never intended to make $240,000 each year. That just was not the intent of the original marshals when they created the association, and it has to be addressed.
Cornelius, start us off. Do you believe the mission of the city marshal's office is being met? If not, what would you do to correct it?
Well, I think the mission, for the most part, is being met, except, like I said, we need to put more marshals on the street. We need to do two-man teams. And like I said, Jerome Hopewell was saying that I'd take, I would take that salary because I don't need the money now. Some of y'all may need the money. Some, I'm not, everything's paid for me. So as far as that, I wanted $10,000. That's all I ask. I can put that money back into the community and put more marshals on the street, because that's what we need, is more marshals on the street. I have this program that I'd like to do where we had an officer-friendly program at one time around here, and just like Chief Ritchie was saying, kids right now, they hate cops, and that's because they don't understand cops. We need to try to work with the community, especially the black community. I see where Alexandria Police Department is having coffee with a cop, and we need to start that with the Marshal Service, maybe coffee with a marshal or something like that, where we can do positive interaction with the community so they won't fear cops or marshals or anybody.
Okay. Jerome?
Well, I guess the question, and then just let me clarify, is do you think that they're doing the job, it's accomplishing its mission?
As
Is
the
that what
mission
you're asking?
states currently, yes.
I think at a minimum, yes. I think they're actually doing the work. I think it can be done a lot better. I mean, I work in the other half of the courthouse, so I see the work that is generated there. I think that the marshal's office could be a lot bigger. And a lot better, could have a bigger role in the community. It would be unfair for us to say that Ricky Rachel, who's been there about 3 months, should have that thing completely turned around, in all honesty. The last guy who was doing the job was arrested for selling drugs out of that office. So, in all fairness, I think the office has been stagnant for many, many years. It has been handed down and handed down and handed down, and nothing ever changes. Go in there, they use some of the paperwork that Otis Penn created. So, I mean, I think it can be a lot better. I think the mission itself may have to change. You may have to expand it. I'd like to see it work with other agencies. Right now, it's an thing in itself. They don't really work with other agencies, and if they do, it's just, accidental. They don't go out there and engage with the other agencies. Yeah, I think they're accomplishing the minimum, but I don't know that, I think it can be
John?
Well, I'm not there and I don't have access to their records. It's my understanding that there are thousands of warrants that are unserved. So I think in some respects, the mission is not being served. And I think in part that may be because the current interim marshal is more interested in creating new programs that are really not a part, in my opinion, are not a part of the mission of the marshal's office. I have friends of mine who've told me, do you know anything about this burglary patrol or this check my business patrol? I mean, that is not a function, in my opinion, of the Alexandria City Marshal's office. I think we have to get back to the mission itself, and that is to streamline the documents that come through that court, to protect the court. And I disagree with Cornelius. I'm not in favor of hiring a bunch of other marshals. I mean, we need to hire enough people to adequately perform the job and create a mission that is that goes forth with regard to serving the court and the city judge. But I don't believe, in my opinion, that the mission of the Alexandria City Marshal's office is being addressed properly at this time.
Darrell?
Well, no, I do not believe the mission's being currently met at the city marshal's office right now. And the mission of the marshal's office should be to protect the city court and its personnel, protect the public that accesses the court, carry out the lawful orders of the court. But right now, the city marshal's office, to public knowledge, there's corruption up there, there's illegal activity that's taking place. And in fact, the second in command when it happened, which is Mr. Rashell, he was second in command when all the corruption and illegal activities were going on at the city marshal's office. So if you're there for 23 years and you didn't know something was going on, that there's an issue. The marshal's office also has been used for the personal gains of the employees, the marshal and the staff, too long, and it needs to be put in. There is corruption there. And it's very much my concern is if the right candidate is not put in here, is elected, then the corruption is going to keep going. And if I'm elected, I will restore the integrity and the public trust. But to answer the question, no, it's not being met.
Jerome, you'll start us off with the next question. Would you require all marshal employees be post-certified?
No. You know, there's a lot of employees that work in the office. There's probably about 12 to 14 that work in there. Some of those are clerical. They would have no reason to be post-certified. They never leave the office. But that's a good question. Those people who are out there serving paperwork need to be post-certified. And the reason I'm telling you that, because people know the marshal's office as being guys who go around and serve eviction notices and give summons and things like that. And you say, really, why do you have to be post-certified in order to do that? Because you wear a badge and you wear a gun and you're out there in the community. And you don't know when you walk up that driveway what crime that person has committed and what they're thinking. They don't know you're coming over there to serve an eviction notice. They think that you're over there to arrest them for the rape they committed that night. And if you're not post-certified and you're not prepared, you're in trouble. Also, it's a liability. If you don't have a guy out there with a badge and a uniform who's post-certified and knows what to do in certain situations, and he goes in there and starts shooting up people at the mall, then you got the problem. You know, so post-certification for those people out in on the street is absolute.
Okay. John?
No, I don't believe that every employee of the city marshal office has to be post-certified. I agree with Jerome that those officers that are in uniform that engage with the public do need to be post-certified because he's absolutely right. You're going, if you're out there in the in the public and you see something occur, you have an obligation to engage yourself. And he's also right when you go to a particular situation, you do not know what the individual you're engaging yourself in has just done. And for that reason, there's no guarantee that there's not going to be a situation where someone's going to get hurt or injured or killed. But if that does occur, I would prefer that one of my deputies was post-certified and was trained properly to engage with an individual. But I do not believe that every employee, particularly those employees that are in the office doing clerical work or accountants that are in the office, nor do I believe that every person out there serving documents, a civil document, has to be post-certified.
Darrell?
Well, currently I am post-certified, and, if elected, we will require the officers that if they're serving papers, courtroom security, to be post-certified. The staff that handles the paperwork in the building do not have to be, but if you are working the metal detector at the front door, or if you're inside the courtroom, directing the people where to go, or you're serving a paper or a seizure or an eviction, you will be post-certified. I have to agree with both of them on, when you're in the public and you're outside, you don't know if you're gonna be sitting in a restaurant, you don't know if you're gonna be walking up to a house, like they said, and they're having a bad day, or they think you're there for a different reason, and something could go wrong in a heartbeat. And we're watching the news every day where there's a policeman being killed. So I think being post-certified gives you the training to handle yourself. Being a SWAT commander, that was one of the things we were the elite. If something went wrong in town, who'd they call? They called us. We had the training. I think everybody needs the training, and post-certification will give you the training to handle yourself in any situation. It's just very important to have the post-certification and have the background knowledge and stay current with your training.
Cornelius?
Yeah, I agree with all the gentlemen down here. Everybody needs to be post-certified. I don't know if they believe in just having one man go out. I'd rather have two-man teams. That's the way I was trained as a military police officer. We go out in teams so we can watch each other's back and everything. All these officers going out by themselves and stuff, I think it's wrong. You're putting the officer's life in danger and stuff. We need to go out in two-man teams, and that's the way I'd run the office.
Okay. John? How will you bring back trust and maintain integrity in the Marshal's office?
Well, integrity is not a commodity that you can just buy off the shelf and give to a deputy. Integrity is a trait that you have to ensure is there when you do the hiring, when you sit down and determine whether or not you're going to hire this employee. Does this employee have integrity, or does this employee not have integrity? And the interview process to determine that is critical, because it's not something that you can acquire after you're hired. You either have integrity or you do not have integrity. And if you hire someone who doesn't have integrity, and you determine that during the course of their employment for you, then you have to eliminate, in my opinion, you have to eliminate. I had to do that as the police chief because people make mistakes. And you make mistakes in the hiring process. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So hiring the right individual in the beginning is critical. If you hire an individual who has integrity and has honesty and a sense of work ethic that's going to help them create an environment where you can turn them loose, then you're not going to have a trouble with that employee. If you hire an employee that's absent integrity, none of the other things are going to work. None of them are going to work. So it's a matter of hiring the right people at the beginning.
Darrell?
Well, the trust and integrity starts at the top, and I'm planning on leading by example. All the employees that will be hired at the City Marshal's office will be accountable for their actions, and no matter who they are. It's, you know, one of the major things is the, mentioned earlier about you don't know how much funds is going through there. There's a lot of funds go through that building. And the financial control, the integrity of the office for the accountant, the public funds that are collected and dispersed through the office, the dollar amount is high. Nobody really knows what's going through there until the audit comes back. But there has to be the trust and integrity on the accounting of that money, because it's so easy to alter the books up there with the system that they have right now. I think it's still an older system, and I don't think it's not a foolproof system. I think the prudent spending will hold a lot on the integrity, making sure that the funds are spent best for the public. And the rigorous training, it's, you know, as a SWAT commander, I'll go back on that a minute, the training is very important when they're out in the public, to making sure that I don't want another situation where we have another child get you know, the training, the trust of that department, the integrity of that department is not there right now, and it needs to be restored.
Cornelius?
Yeah, I would, of course, being a military police officer, I try to hire most of our veterans and stuff to restore integrity and stuff. Our military is some of the best fighting men and women that you can hire. A lot of times we overlook those veterans. Those veterans need jobs and stuff like that, and I hadn't heard anybody say hire a veteran or anything like that. I just wish people would, like I said, think more about hiring veterans, because they're already been trained in weapons and stuff like that, and so they should be an easy transition over to civilian law enforcement. And that's like everybody else is saying, you need to have integrity and stuff. Hire godly people. We probably need to initially probably try to fire everybody and then rehire everybody and see how everything looks and everything. Because like he said, Daryl, we don't know if somebody's stealing the money or somebody like Sheriff Hilton's sister stole all that money and stuff and didn't know for 20 years. So we probably need real good audits and stuff, Daryl, and hire more military veterans.
Mr. Cornelius, that's allegedly stolen.
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, Jerome?
Thank you.
They alluded to it, I guess, in their statements. I think it all has to do with the leader. If you're the marshal, I mean, you've got to get a handle on it. I think that's probably some of the problems. You know, everybody knows here that the marshal's got a black eye over the last couple of years, and I think it all just comes out of just improper supervision from the top down. You have to be a leader. You have to go in there from the start to the finish. When you hire the guy, you got to be aware of his past. You got to do everything background. But like Chief Ritchie said, look, you may have a guy there a couple of years and you realize he's going astray. Hit the road. That's what the leader does. That integrity comes from the leader of that office.
Daryl, you'll start us off. This is a little bit different. The question is, what makes you best qualified for the marshal's office? And the way I'd like you to respond is to answer with one word and then briefly explain what you mean by that one word. So what makes you best qualified for the marshal's office? One word, and then explain.
Experience. The marshal's office requires experience in both law enforcement and business. And I am the only candidate that can bring the extensive law enforcement background, being the criminal law and the civil law, and a very successful business to the table. Before retiring in September, I dedicated 33 years to the Alexandria Police Department as a patrolman. I worked my way up through the different divisions. I retired as a captain. I was chief of the detectives, and I was a SWAT commander. So, experience in that office, there's no experience over there right now. They're flying. They're making it. But experience is going to be one of the best things. Depending on the needs and the demands of the department, actually, when I was the chief of detectives, I was actually running 4 different divisions. I was running the criminal investigations division, the narcotics division, the SWAT team, and also the hostage negotiators. At any given time, I had 50 men and women under me, doing different tasks, which at that time we were doing the budgets, I was in charge of the manpower, the overtime budget, their purchasing of equipment, and at that time, actually, I was working with the city police that had a $17 million budget. A little bit different. When John was there, it was an $8 million budget. When I left, it was a $17 million budget. So over the last 30 years, I have built some very successful businesses from the ground up, and I have the experience to bring to the city marshal's office, the experience of a business background and a law enforcement background.
Cornelius?
Yes, sir. On me, I've been on both sides of the law, unfortunately, and I look at it like this.
One word.
Well, I mean, I've been on both sides of the law. I mean, simple as that. But you got to give people second chances and stuff. Jesus Christ was jailed. Paul, Peter went to prison. John the Baptist, Joseph. All these people went to prison. They were falsely convicted and stuff. And what I would bring to our aspect is this. Sure, we've lost a lot of integrity at the office. Ricky Rachel has already lied and said Bird's backing him 100%. That's a lie. And I know it because I talk to Bird all the time. I go by and see our former city marshal and stuff. We don't need a liar in office. That's one thing we don't need. And I've heard they've been trying to get rid of me. They got rid of the other black fellow that was in the race that was a Democrat. So I hope they don't try to get rid of me because like I said, I think I'm the best man for the job. And that's it.
Jerome?
I would have to say diversity. I mean, we've all got a law enforcement background. The thing that would make me unique would be the fact that I've been in several different agencies on the front side of it with the initial arrest. I've also been with probation and parole where we did the follow-up on the back side, and everything's a different point of view there. You gotta understand what the judges are looking at on the back side also if you're making the initial arrest. You have to kind of know exactly what goes into that. So I've been from start to finish and all the way around, and I currently work in Alexandria City Court as the PTI director. I pretty much got this job surrounded.
John?
Leadership. I believe that I'm in a unique position to offer leadership to this particular office at this particular time. This, as you know, this election is to serve the unexpired term of the former marshal, which is about 2 years. I'm not positive that you can get everything that needs to be corrected in that office done in 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. It's my intent to do that immediately, the first being the issue that we discussed earlier with the salary, because that's going to take some time. Secondly, once that's done, my intention is to run for 1 term, and then I will be back on my front porch drinking my coffee. I do not intend to be in the city marshal for an extended period of time. I don't know about these gentlemen. I wish them well if that's their intent. But I believe I have the leadership ability to get the office straight and to put it on a course where someone who comes after me will not have any problem at all maintaining it, and there will never be during my course a breach of trust as we found with the former marshal.
Okay. Now, gentlemen, if it's all right with you and our committee, the next set of questions, there are 4 questions left, and then a brief closing comment. I'd like for us to deal with each of the remaining 4 with a 1-minute answer. So, Madam Timekeeper, we're going to shift to a 1 minute, so 30 seconds. Give the hand warning sign, okay? Cornelius,
Yes,
Cornelius, you'll start us off, and you've already addressed this before, but these are going to be quick answers, I know, gentlemen, for each of you. Have you or an immediate family member, have you or an immediate member of your family been arrested? If so, please explain.
All right, yes, I have. As you well know, the federal government, with the Federal Bureau of Prisons and the FBI, said that I threatened to kill the warden at Oakdale. That was all a lie because I had filed an EEOC complaint against the Federal Bureau of Prisons about calling the white staff was calling the black staff and the black inmates niggers, and I told them I wasn't gonna tolerate it. Well, that led to me getting death threats at the house saying, nigger, we're gonna hang you and your whole damn family too if you keep on pressing the issue. I told them I'm gonna keep on pressing the issue until I find out who's all involved. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jerome?
No.
Thank you for that 1 minute answer. Thank you. John?
No.
And Daryl?
Yes, my son was arrested right after high school with about 5 or 6 of his friends for criminal trespassing in a vacant building.
Okay, thank you. Jerome, start us off with the next one. Will you do favors for your friends, or will you treat everyone by the rules? And maybe you could expand upon that if you'd like.
No, I always treat everybody fairly, whether I know them or not. I've got a good reputation in and around. Find somebody who's worked with me. That would be the best way. If you want to know about me, find somebody who's worked with me or somebody who knows me and ask them about it. And I'll be happy with whatever they tell you.
Okay. John?
Repeat that question, Tom?
Yes. Will you do favors for your friends, or will you treat everyone by the rules? And just expound on that.
No, I would not do favors just for friends. If I can help individuals, in my capacity as the Alexandria City Marshal, I certainly would do that, because I think that's part of the purpose of that office, to help them in any manner that you can, to be accessible to them and to be transparent with them. But I wouldn't do any favors for just friends, no.
Okay. Daryl?
I'm not gonna do the favors for the friends. I'll treat everybody equal. Doesn't matter who you are. I've always done it through the police department. I'll help anybody out any way I can. But my son, I didn't treat him any different when that happened with him. He went through the system.
Okay. Cornelius?
No, sir. No favors.
Okay. All right. John, tell us why you are a Republican and how involved you have been in GOP political activities.
Well, I'm a Republican because I've been a Republican for the past 13 years. I believe in a conservative form of government. I was, like many other people in Louisiana, I was a Democrat early on because I wanted to participate in the voting process. And before the open primaries, you had to be a Democrat primarily in this state in order to be able to vote. But after that, and when I first wrote my first check to the Republican Party, I went down in 2004 and changed from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party because I wasn't going to give them money if I wasn't a part of the party itself.
Okay. Daryl?
I've been a Republican for about 4 months. I guess back in the day I registered as a Democrat, was civil service, so I stayed totally out of politics. Didn't even get around it till I retired on September 3rd. And then when I was looking at this office and decided to run, when I went to the courthouse and I realized I was a Democrat, I changed to Republican.
Cornelius?
Well, I was a Democrat also, like most of these fellas, because that's what I learned to be, and that's what my parents were. But my grandparents were Republicans. They were from Lexington, Kentucky, and they knew that Democrats were pretty much evil and stuff. And I realized that soon enough. I supported Ross Perot and stuff like that. I've been no less an independent. I joined the Republican Party probably 2 to 3 years ago, and like I said, I found out that they were the best party to be in, so that's why I'm a Republican. They freed the slaves and stuff, and I want to be with that party, and you're, of course, against abortion, and you believe in guns, so I'm with the Republican Party.
Jerome?
I been a Republican for about 16 years. I've been a registered Republican for about a year now. The reason I throw out 16 years, because when my son was born, that's when I started to become more and more conservative. And every day that goes by, I'm more to the right. Probably like a lot of you, you know, if you watch the news, you realize this is where you want to be. And like they said earlier, when we were younger, I registered as a Democrat. I went to work for civil service, and I forgot about it, you know. And I registered about a year ago, maybe a little over a year, as a Republican.
Okay. And did I leave someone out? Daryl, have you responded?
Yes, sir.
I'm so sorry. All right, I think I'm looking at Daryl's name because you've got our last question to start us off.
Okay.
And here it is. Do you believe the Alexandria City Marshal should initiate more criminal patrol functions within wards 1, 2, and 8?
No, I do not believe that. You talked about this earlier. We need to get back to what their mission is at the city marshal's office. And the mission is not criminal patrol or burglary patrol. It is taking care of the courtroom, taking care of the people that come in the court, doing the evictions, the seizures, but they should not be doing criminal patrol.
Okay. Cornelius?
Okay. Like I said, I believe in a military type marshal, so two-man teams, and I believe that the marshals ought to try to assist the Alexandria Police Department, the FBI, the state police and stuff like that. So I'd be hiring more marshals so we can assist with APD, Rapides Parish Sheriff's Department, and even enlist the military police to help us do our job and stuff. Because like I said, the military does a job better than anybody. And like I said, I just believe in the military. Thank you.
Jerome?
I would say no. I mean, like they said, that's why we have the city police. That's why you have a sheriff's office. I've been there, done that. These guys have been there too. We're not going to the city marshal's office to go ride around and do burglary patrol or whatever that stuff is there. Everybody, every agency has a job. Now, I'd like to see us work a little bit more with them. We have warrants. Of course, every agency has a backlog of warrants. I would like to see us work with these other agencies, but as far as going out and making criminal patrols, just not our business.
And John?
No, that's not a function of the Alexandria Marshal's office. And I guess if you're an interim marshal and you're trying to make a big splash, it would work, but that's not a function of the office.
Okay. Cornelius, we would like for you to begin with a closing comment. And let's take 2 minutes, and again, we'll start here and go back through. 2 minutes for a closing comment.
Well, I'd like to thank all of the Republican Party members and stuff. And like I said, I'm pretty much knew it for as campaigning and stuff. Like the only election I won was in 1976 when I ran for president of the sophomore class at Ash. But like I said, I'd bring more of a military style marshal and two-man teams and stuff like that. These other guys, they've been civilians all their lives. They've never, I don't know if they've had guns pointed at them or knives or anything like that. I've never been in particularly a war-type environment, but as a civilian, I've faced down some things and stuff like that. So, like I said, I believe in two-man teams. All I've heard from them, they ain't said nothing about two-man teams or nothing like that. And apparently they don't want the Marshal Service to expand to try to help out other law enforcement. Other law enforcement needs help. The Sheriff's Department, the State Police, the FBI, and all these other agencies, they need help too. That's why I said we'd enlist the Military Police Corps. We got a whole battalion of them over there at Camp Beauregard now. So I'd enlist everybody to try to help.
Jerome?
A little bit about me, once again, you know, I come from a diverse background in law enforcement. I think the city marshal, when I say should do more, I think it should be more community-based. I'm not talking about you should be a patrol car out there doing burglary patrols. I'm not saying you should institute any new programs as far as law enforcement. But I would like to see, back in the day when Marshal Byrd was there, Marshal Byrd had kind of an open door door policy. That's why people liked him so much, because not only did he know all the staff, he knew everybody in Alexandria. And when they had a problem, they went to Marshal Byrd. He relieved a lot of the burdens because people would come to him when they had a problem with a renter, and he would go over there because he knew them. You know, and so a lot of that stuff got thrown to the wayside when this job got handed down from, you know, from administration to administration. And I think really you should be a community-based program. I'm not saying you go out there patrolling, but I think you should be out there in the neighborhoods. I think the people in Wards 1, 2, and 8 should have a relationship with the marshal.
John?
James Byrd was the epitome of a marshal that was engaged in the community. And that's one reason why I wasn't about to run against James Byrd when I retired from the police department. He had a 92% approval rating, and I'm not an idiot. And, but I do believe that we need to return to the days like O'Hearn Matthews and Otis Penny and Mr. Byrd. I just think we need to have more transparency in that office than those gentlemen offered, particularly with regard to the money that flows through the office. I believe that I can accomplish that. I think my record speaks for itself. When I was the police chief, I made some mistakes, but I learned from those mistakes. And with all that experience, I became wiser with regard to things that I need to engage in with regard to the community. But I believe that I'm the individual that can offer the citizens of Ward 1, 2, and 8 an opportunity to get the office straight and return it to an organization that they can once again be proud of.
Okay. And Darrell?
I agree with Jerome and also John that, you know, Marshal Byrd was the icon back in the day. I learned a lot from him too. He ran a very tight department in the day, and the City Marshal's office needs to go back to the day. I mean, the integrity we talked about a little while ago, we need to restore the integrity and the trust in the Marshal's office. And with my experience, I am probably the only one sitting up here that's got 33 years of experience with the police department, civil and criminal law, and also running a business for over 30 years, which is $1 million business. I have the background for budgets and to straighten that department out and put it on the right track. And I am the right candidate for the job.
Okay. Let's express our appreciation to these candidates. Well, this concludes our endorsement meeting, and those of you who are on campus here at LC, we thank y'all for participating, and those who will be listening by way of our Facebook live stream, we thank you for that. Gentlemen, we thank you again for being with us. We will be meeting as a committee. If you wanted to hang around a little bit longer, we will be able to share with you our endorsement, and then we'll make that public in our community.